we are live. Welcome everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Adjust this mic for a second here. There we go. Awesome. Again, thank you guys so much. If you are new to the channel, welcome. I am Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. We cover true crime, mystery to the missing. Of course, we've been going over Sebastian Rogers' case for about a month now. Been deep diving into the footage that we have. If you're new to this channel, welcome. We like to focus on the facts and evidence, and of course in this case there's very little except for the surveillance footage that has been released, and we've been going over that extensively on this channel. And through the time, there's little tidbits that I've uncovered, and it's been kind of a team effort along the way, which is really amazing. And so everybody kind of participates in this channel, so that's awesome. Before we get started, though, I always like to get back by featuring missing people. So quickly, before we get into Sebastian Rogers, this is Selena Wilson. She went missing on August 10th. In Phoenix, Arizona. She was 33 years old, 160 pounds, 5'8", brown eyes, black-brown hair. Just reading the notes here. It says, Selena was last seen in Anchorage Recovery Home in Phoenix, left stating she had to help a friend near 19th Avenue in Indian School. Let's see what else. If you have any information, please call 602-262-6151. Just reading this notes down in the bottom left. It's really small. It just talks about the tattoos. So obviously, clearly, she's got many tattoos, which is great for identifying the missing. She looks like she's got a sleeve on her right and more or less a sleeve on her left with tattoos, and then a tattoo across her chest. And it also looks like she has her nose pierced as well. So anybody out in the Phoenix area or Arizona in general, please be on the lookout for Selena Wilson. Missing now, what are we looking at? Just over a month. I do take requests. If you have a family member or friend that just went missing, you can email me the details and the name, and I'd be happy to feature them in an upcoming live show. All right, let's get going here. Lexi Lynn, did you get my email? I am backed up on emails. I'm trying to get caught up. If I didn't get to it and I didn't respond, I promise you I will start catching up on my emails. Unfortunately, I just have so many, Lexi. So if I didn't respond, then I promise by this weekend, hopefully I will get to yours. And again, that goes to anybody that I haven't responded to. I'm sure a lot of you understand, as soon as I did this video with the lights and everything, everybody was emailing me. Of course, they're just trying to help. Give me tips and stuff, and it's just really hard because it's just me, and there's just tons and tons of emails to go through. So if I don't, I promise I'll try to get back to them. All right, let's get going. Of course, Sebastian Rogers missing February 26th. We are now on the precipice of what, 6 months? Over 6 months now. No, we're looking at 7. So 226. So yeah, we're coming up on 7 months. That's crazy. And now we've got Dog the Bounty Hunter. We've got supposedly the FBI, and then the reward up to 100,000, which I think is amazing. Can never go wrong with having a reward or upping it. But for anybody that's not familiar with this case, I'm just gonna play this so I can kind of shout out some people.
1008 traffic court commission. Caller guys this morning, they woke up and their 15-year-old girl was not in the bed. We have right now 3 blonde hair working with us, but we're going to turn down.
Oh.
I'm going to be wearing a black sweatshirt.
I'd be curious to see what they said.
Autism. It's the first time it happened. I'm going to be in the home before midnight. All the doors are locked at this time.
Sebastian Rogers is a 15-year-old autistic teenager who lives in Hendersonville, Tennessee. He was last seen Sunday night on February 25th by his mother, Katie Proudfoot. The next morning on the 26th, his mother went to wake Rogers up
Good to
and
see
get
you,
him ready
Dandy.
for school, but Rogers was nowhere to be seen. Sebastian Rogers was allegedly wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, his glasses, and his keychain flashlight. They also claimed that all of his shoes were accounted for, which means he is most likely barefoot. His case has garnered a lot of media attention, which has helped get his tragic story out to the masses.
Thank you so much,
There has
Meredith.
been numerous searches for Sebastian Rogers, including a landfill search in the beginning, to groundwater and air searches.
Okay, so today's show, we're going to kind of go over the totality of everything we've kind of covered over the past month. And, of course, there's a little bit more stuff that we'll go over. There's another thing. Again, keep in mind, as I go along looking at this footage, obviously the big thing is the lights and where they were at. That was huge. But then, what's left is obviously trying to identify the suspicious vehicle. And then anything else, obviously it's not going to be as big as either identifying the suspicious vehicle or, the light. So keep that in mind. It's like whatever else there is, it's not going to be as big or huge. But keep in mind, I'm trying to look at everything. I try to take breaks and then kind of come back at it with a look at it under a different light, per se. But there are things that, as I keep, kind of coming back to this footage, there are little things that I noticed that I haven't seen before, and we will address those when we get to it.
To censor myself, holy freaking crap, this can't be happening, where is my kid? Choice words were used. Where the F is
Good to
he?
see you, Sensei.
I had looked through the house for him, because it was typical for him to get up and
Okay,
for
I
snacks and
definitely
things like that. And he likes
try to get to it,
behind
Lexi.
The, walls and watch, and then he comes out after I come back.
Good
and
to see you,
likes
Loto. I hope you're doing
but,
well.
After I looked, and I mean, mind you, all of this took place in like 1 minute flat. But I didn't see him in his room. I looked all over. I ran through the whole house. I looked out all the doors and windows, and I was like hollering his name. And I picked up the phone and I called my husband, and I said, I can't find him. And he said, what do you mean? I said, he's not in this effing house. I can't find our son. And
I know. I'm like, God, is it 7 or 6?
I drove over by the school.
It's crazy.
And he's already, at this point, I was like hysterical, and I was crying, and I was screaming. And he was like,
Okay, let me skip this forward here so we can start getting into everything. So again, as always, I'm just going to kind of play this so I can speak with chat. But this is originally where they had thought the lights were at. And keep in mind, the person that did this video had spoken to Chris Proudfoot. Now, again, I just want to reiterate, I'm not against Chris Proudfoot or Seth. I honestly don't care. I just want to look at the evidence, and wherever that leads, it leads. But there are definitely inconsistencies with the Proudfoots, definitely. Some things that definitely raise red flags, in my opinion. But as from what we understand, I have spoken to the locals.
See that the two lights at the top,
And they have, told me about what they understand to believe what happened that night, according to footage and talking with other locals. And they believe that there was, basically two incidences that happened that night. We have the light situation and a suspicious vehicle, which they believe was around 3 or 3:30 a.m. And then you have a few hours later where there is the garbage truck and a Uber driver. And now what the law enforcement is trying to say is that this supposed suspicious vehicle was actually the Uber driver. So I want to address that as well. And then obviously the cameras, that at least two that I can talk about, malfunctioned that weekend, which is very suspicious.
been assumed to be floodlights. And using this line, we can determine that those lights cannot be any higher
than the hood of that truck. Using this method, we can determine exactly where those lights are coming from.
Peach cobbler. Oh, I love peach cobbler.
So
Thank
looking
you
at
so
where
much.
that truck was parked that night, seen in this overview, photo here taken the day of, we can then use a Google Street image and line up approximately where that truck was parked.
I'd be curious to know the person who ever tried to debunk it. I would be curious to see it. You know, maybe they got something right that I missed. I'd be curious. I'd encourage anybody that has the capabilities to, if they think I am wrong with where I've got stuff lined up, I would be super curious to see what their take is on it.
Notice we add the red line.
Because again, I'm
and look
not
at where it
claiming I
takes
have
us.
everything exactly
There's a
100%
house
right.
exactly across the street. This house is next to the Rogers residence. This home has its garage facing towards the camera. It also has 3
I
garage
appreciate
doors
that,
on
Aidan.
it. Guess what? That's right, it has floodlights above each garage door.
Ooh.
So here, I am taking a street Google view of the direction of the camera.
You know what, Luna? As a matter of fact, that Uber driver, in my opinion, because it would just be like Uber Eats, Uber driver, they're hooked up to the app, I'm assuming. Just like if you were to do a DoorDash, whatever, the customer and the driver are going to be both hooked up to the app. So they're, although I don't know if they have a camera, they might, because a lot of them do for safety. But at the very least, they are tracking their movements via GPS. So we would know, where they're there. It's between 3 and 3:30, or more likely what we heard was somewhere around like 5:30, I believe. So they would know their movements. But yeah, it would be interesting if they had cameras.
And then adding the security footage overlaid into the Google image. And notice how the floodlights do line up with the image. But because the footage itself was filmed with a phone, it is a bit shaky
Hey, Flagger, good to
and
see
doesn't
ya.
always line up. But this does give you an example of where everything is taking place. The lights labeled as subject 1 and 2
So
are
we'll
moving
talk about some
across
new stuff here
the
in just
2
a minute.
yards. So the big question is, are they flashlights or something else? And where are they coming from exactly, and where are they going to? What I'm about to show you next,
I'm going to skip this
and
a little
according
bit.
to what Chris Proudfoot claimed.
So I really want to come back to this because there was I spoke to some former law enforcement, and I also talked to somebody that I think in one of my last lives, someone was asking me, well, hey, can you go talk to those special effects experts, Now, I didn't speak to them, but I spoke to somebody that has expertise in surveillance footage and enhancing stuff. And so we'll talk about that here in a minute when we get to that point. But it was interesting what they said.
The direction of where the scent dogs went. In my opinion, it's clear that they are taking the same exact path, according to my overlay, Chris Proudfoot, and what the neighbors have mentioned, they all line up. Is this just some crazy coincidence? I believe not.
And then it cuts diagonally to the house next door to us through their backyard. And then it cuts diagonally to the house next door to us through their backyard.
As I mentioned earlier, I spoke to a local who knows the neighborhood and some of the neighbors very well. While I share the new information told to me, I will be showing a recreation of the events that allegedly happened that night.
So one of the things that I learned that we talked about on Wednesday is this light, which I believe because it's a static light. We have static lights like this floodlight here, which they don't move, other than the fact that the entire picture moves, but they don't move, flicker, or anything. And this light does the same thing. What's interesting is this light is not on when the lights are going by, right? So what's interesting, and I could be wrong, but I believe it's possible this light could be possibly the floodlight to this home. If that is true, that means that because it wasn't on before and it is on now,
it would make sense because they are now walking past the yard and likely had set that light off. Again, that's only assuming that is the light. This light here is to that floodlight. I could be wrong, but it does kind of line up.
More. Footage has been released, but in my opinion, the order in which the videos have been released may not reflect the correct order of events. So
let me skip this because that was the old one. But now, so one of the things going back to is that this car, for some reason, went all the way to the end of Kellen. I'm not sure exactly how far, but they turned around, which is just really weird. If this car is solely involved in the abduction, what would be the reason they would need to drive all the way up there? And then you just happen to have two confirmed. Now, we don't know if it's directly connected, but, it surely is a strange coincidence that we have a ring cam. Ring cams are they are susceptible to being hacked because they are not hardwired in. They're Wi-Fi only. So if someone has a jammer like this, they can easily jam anything within a certain radius. And basically what it does to the system is it just tells the ring cam that there's no Wi-Fi. So they keep trying to... So all of a sudden, the ring cam, which is, running off Wi-Fi, the second it doesn't have that signal, it's not recording to the cloud or whatever. And what's interesting is not only did one ring camera not work, but according to the local, it was fried, which is very interesting. And I did try to look up research, like, can they really fry them? And I haven't found anything, so I don't know. It could be a strange coincidence. Maybe it just burned out the night he went missing. It is weird. But then to have a second one go out, which was a different camera, but it was the same thing, it was Wi-Fi. Very, very interesting. Joy Jones, good to see so many strange non-coincidences. Yeah. And then we have this camera here, which I wish I could talk more about. There's obviously things, and keep in mind, I always have to just say this every live. Everything that I've been told has been told to law enforcement a long time ago. And most of the things I can't share, but there are a few things, obviously, the locals had shared with me in confidence, and of course I would never impede, or I respect for them just being able to share that information with me is amazing. So there are some things that unfortunately I can't share. Maybe at one point, and I'm hoping soon, maybe that we will be able to talk about those things, and that would be very, very interesting. But again, then we have this timestamp that so we can see it's 2:23:24. Now obviously it was on the night of, or early morning of the 26th, but it's just interesting that this timestamp just went haywire around that weekend. And then that the Tuesday, so a day after he went missing, it was working fine again. Now again, I have never, just like with the fried ring camera, I have not found anything where you can actually manipulate the timestamp, like freeze it. I know that you can get into the settings and do stuff if you hack them, but I have not seen anything where you can actually freeze the timestamp. So I'm not sure. And keep in mind, this particular camera, the reason why it probably is working and filmed anything is it's hardwired. So thank goodness, just in case if they were running around with jammers, this camera is hardwired, so they would not be able to do the same thing they would with just Wi-Fi only. So very interesting that this camera does have some things go wrong with it, but yet it still records. Sorry, I'm just getting some feedback. That's weird.
Whole Wi-Fi, the whole street.
And you would think these things are difficult to find, but check this out. I just looked in my laptop, and here they are for sale.
My understanding is they may not be as legal as they are portrayed on the line. They're described as something other than what they actually are.
So what are you telling people to do?
What we wanted to do is get those things hardwired.
I would always hardwire from your cameras, to your alarm system, everything.
Don't just store your security images on the cloud either.
I'd rather have it on a hard drive than to have it on the cloud.
And even with wired cameras, don't discount good old-fashioned deterrents like the sound of a big dog barking and sticks.
So anyway, there's obviously we played how there are certain obviously suspects that have gone in, broken and stolen cars, and usually it's cameras that have Wi-Fi and they end up using some kind of jammer. There's different types of jammers. Obviously, the one that I showed up on screen, that's more expensive jammer that could do, that's probably got a broader range and do a lot more things. There are some more cheaper ones. I think one's called a flipper or something like that. Still has the basic components where it's basically telling the Wi-Fi that, or basically telling the machine, the camera, that there's no Wi-Fi, and it just keeps sending the signal over and over if you're within range of that. Sensei says, Chris, you are awesome. Love you. Keep up the good work. I appreciate that. So moving on. The car comes back down, and we have at the very least, one person get out, maybe two, kind of depending on if it's an outside job or inside job. And this is where we're going to talk about something that was brought to me when I was speaking with a former detective that just kind of blew my mind. I didn't even think about it. And it has to do with everything that Sebastian went missing with. Like his... basically, the fact that he's wearing all black, he has a keychain flashlight, and that he's barefoot. And it didn't even really hit me until I went back and I realized that we were even talking about how dogs track people's scent, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But I do wonder, again, if this was an inside job, did they anticipate trying to make it look like there was one flashlight and that was Sebastian, but didn't realize subject one was peeking out? Because it is interesting that they only go so close to subject two, and then they kind of what appears to move behind the house or in front of it. They basically where they're at could be one or the other. But really, if you really just kind of stop to think about this, there is a good chance what we're looking at is the abduction of Sebastian Rogers. And although, we really can't make much information out, this could be the evidence one day that we'll see in court. And I'm sure that the original footage will be much better. From what I understand, they can actually make out a figure. So keep in mind, what we're seeing is just a small piece of the puzzle. The original footage that wasn't third generation where it's filmed with, a phone, has much more information in it. And if you think about it, they said that they could see the figure when they came back. They could see the figure actually jumping the ditch. Now, if they could see a figure jumping the ditch, you have a car that is like 30 feet closer than where these people are at. I guarantee they have the car, they can see what kind of car it is, I'm assuming. Let me know what you think in the chat. But if you could see a person jumping that far away, just probably like a shadow or whatever, then And I could only imagine the car itself. They should be able to, at the very least, have like a general idea of what kind of car it is. Yeah, Blossom's clothesline, yes. And we're going to talk about the barefoot here in just a second. Yeah, why would they claim he's barefoot? Weird. Seth said he did not like to be barefoot. Right. Okay, let me skip this forward. I might have repeated this here. So tomorrow, we're gonna do that. We're just gonna focus on cars tomorrow because I know everybody has been wanting to do that. I know we kind of did one live, but and I'll do it at the end of the show as well. As I'll have people if they want a particular car for me to overlay. I will do another pinned comment at the end of the live, and then anybody that wants to put wants me to overlay a particular car. That way I can get all the cars ahead of time, and then tomorrow I'll just grab as many cars as I can, and then I can kind of pre-plan and put all these vehicles together. All right, let me fast forward. Do I got the right live? Oh, I do. Okay, it's right after this. Tanya says, Sebastian's flashlight didn't work. It used to be a fidget gadget, according to Seth. Yeah, that's interesting. And I could see that because, yeah, those flashlights, yeah, I mean, especially if it's a fidget gadget, I'm sure, yeah, you would probably run the little battery out on it pretty quickly. But it is interesting that they did mention that. It's just the fact that they mentioned that he had that. All right, is this it? I'm just wondering if I loaded up the right video or not.
Be the innocent.
Okay, yeah, it is. All right. Just making sure. All right. Again, I've been looking at this footage for weeks now. And there is something new that caught my eye, which we will get to here in just a minute. But
the camera for a few.
Okay. Is this it? Okay, this is it.
If this was the Uber driver.
Okay, so we know that he was wearing all black. I thought it was interesting that they mentioned that he was like a ninja. He had the keychain flashlight. Now I know Seth has come out and said that apparently it didn't work, but at the time we were told that he had, a flashlight. I'm just kind of putting the narrative together that we had originally. Kind of wearing all black, and then he's barefoot. And I thought that was kind of interesting because let me pull this up real quick here. Okay, so if anybody doesn't know, dogs, the tracking dogs, scent dogs, they track by your feet because they're full of odors that they can tell them about you. It's pretty amazing. Not only can they track you, but they can actually, from your scent, they can tell kind of how you're feeling because your feet are covered in sweat, salt, pheromones that the scent receptors dogs can detect. Dogs may also be attracted to the ground. Dogs may also be attracted to the ground disturbance caused by your footsteps, which can be a concentrated area of your sense. When tracking, dogs follow the scent on the ground disturbance, moving in the direction where the scent seems to be stronger. dogs may also use visual clues to help track. Continuing on. So obviously, feet stink. We have a combination of sweat, bacteria, fungus, all that stuff. And that's where they are concentrated on. And so I thought it was very interesting that he goes missing. He's wearing all black. We have the flashlight that's mentioned early on. We have a video then that has what looks like flashlights at night. And then he's supposedly barefoot, which should mean if he had wandered off barefoot, you would think that they would have been able to track him. If he would have just wandered out in the middle of the night barefoot, you would think that would be the best case scenario for the dogs to come in and track his scent. And this was actually mentioned by Dog Today as well. But former law enforcement that I was speaking with thought that, with him being barefoot, they should have had a pretty strong scent. Now, of course, they did supposedly go in two different directions. They went up killing Lane, and then they went to the construction site, and then from there, the scent is lost. But again, it's so weird that there's no evidence. With all the searches they've done, there's zilch, nothing of him. And you would think with him being barefoot, that might have been an advantage for the dogs to track and find him. But yet, all of a sudden, his scent just, if that was his scent that they tracked to the retention pond, then he just up and disappears. And we know that they drained that and there was nothing. Curious to see what you guys think about that. Leslie and Billy, good to see you. Chris, it's been way longer than a year. Much love. Thank you so much for being a member. Yeah, I think there's a good chance. Chris, do you want me to find where could see people? I'm not sure what you mean, Susie Q. I don't know if you can expand on that question to help me. I'm sorry, I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Sandra, thank you so much. Nearly 2 years. Oh, yeah, 22 months. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Right. I don't know if it's laughable, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah, the barefoot. Again, if he's wandering out barefoot, how far is he going to get? That is definitely going to be a crutch. Very huge disadvantage. We're talking about, temperatures that are pretty cold. And you can only imagine how far he would get before his feet, especially depending on what he's walking on. How quickly could he injure his bare foot? And would he be able to know to make shift something like a soccer shoe with his clothing? But again, all he has allegedly is just a pair of his pajamas or whatever, and no backpack with supplies or anything. So how far could he really get? I mean, he's at a huge disadvantage, autistic or not. Being barefoot, super cold at night, and yet just no sign of him. Journey along, what Jen says, I've been following for a while now. New here, though. I have 2 autistic sons. I'm still undecided on sides. Laugh out loud. Here's my questions. I'd be curious to hear your questions. Again, I'm not on either side. Like I said, I'm just Team Sebastian. Let me keep playing this though. While I read this. Needed Phillips says CP didn't get back to the house until 1:30. Allegedly, he was never in Memphis until he's supposed to be at work at 5:30. So curious. Obviously, for those that may have heard, Dog was on Jen Coffin-Daffer's live earlier today. I tuned in because I was very curious to see what they may have, what they had, if there was anything new. There were some things that Dog said that I wasn't really happy about. Talking about the weight, I think that's unnecessary. But he did mention the Ring cameras, and I think he's talking about Chris Proudfoot. At first, when he mentioned Ring cameras, I thought, oh, is he talking about the neighborhood? And we'll play that clip here in a bit, but it sounds like they're supposedly getting surveillance footage, and I'm assuming it's towards Chris Proudfoot and his whereabouts that night. Now, again, I'm very curious because cameras don't lie. They're not biased. And that's why I focus on the camera footage in this case, because it's really the only evidence we have. But curious, he alleges that it supposedly may show that he wasn't where he was supposedly at. Again, that's alleged. Until we actually see it, we don't know. But it was curious that he mentioned that. And we'll play that. Curious to get your guys' thoughts on that.
Like one dog went over to Long Hole Pike and got there and he lost his scent.
And then what are the strongest?
And there was a couple dogs, like one dog.
He says he wasn't barefoot, no way. Yeah, I mean, how far would you get barefoot? Again, autistic or not, that doesn't matter. Like, that'd be really tough. And then the conditions of the temperatures. And then I heard eventually there was a blizzard. I don't know how bad the blizzard is. And I don't know how far along. Was that a week, month later? But basically my point is bringing up the fact there's been no sign of him in these huge massive searches. It just points to me that he was abducted. Whether it was inside job or outside job remains to be seen, but there are some questionable actions with interviews, and it's just very weird that not only Chris Proudfoot but law enforcement has been very odd about the light video, claiming that it was garbage trucks, which we know is that's BS. But moving on to the footage here.
And tail light.
Let me get this, take a sip. We've learned a little bit about the lights. And this is thanks not just to me, but to our community. We're trying to figure out what we can with the little that we have about this suspicious
While doing a
vehicle.
control test, I learned this about the car. One of the things I was able to discover was that the suspicious car likely does not have daytime running lights. Or if it does, they were turned off that night. Notice that the car is completely dark. Then its headlights and tail lights come on at the same time. Many others believe that what was being illuminated in front of the headlights was part of the road. Well, if you guessed like the rest of us, you would be wrong. Thanks to a special viewer who watches the show named Joy, she did a control test with her Nissan Altima, and while watching her video, that's when something appeared to me that I never thought about before.
Park it.
I think this is awesome
turn
because
them all on.
we can now kind of determine where the
Now
light,
back up.
where the headlamp is kind of
It's
located.
during this moment here where the mystery of what we were looking at in the security footage finally came together. It was not the headlights illuminating the ground, but actually the fog, or morning dew as they call it in the South. Notice we don't see...
And I was trying to think as why that would be, and I really think, again, originally I thought it was like the fog mist, but then somebody mentioned in chat that it could be the exhaust because the car was likely sitting there for a bit. And that makes sense because this exhaust would be probably very thick and would illuminate fairly
Anything
well.
light up in the back or the front, like in this video. And also, notice this part where it's like a shadow. Notice when he backs up the car.
Oh, thank you so much, Deb. I appreciate the support. Yeah, I spent a lot of time, hours and hours on live shows. A lot of stuff, is stuff that I played before, but I always try to put, the timeline and scenario together. But, looking at just the light itself, where the headlamp is and everything, and I thought it was so odd that you just got this black, kind of thing coming across. And I've talked about this before, but it just looks so weird. Because I thought it was just illuminating part of the road. But if you look at what illuminates the road with the lights itself, it's very thin, and it doesn't illuminate much, but it's very. And what I'm talking about is this right here. This right here has just almost like a straight line, right? And this is kind of slightly different. And it's kind of got these holes in it, almost like it's exhaust or mist, whatever you want to call it. But it's definitely, in my opinion, that is what that is. Now, this C has been driving me nuts. I know Loose Fig helped me, gave me an idea thinking about this could be like the where the blinker is located. But unfortunately, after looking at this a lot, I realized that the blinker would be too big. Although it's a great idea, after kind of looking at it and sizing it up with everything else, I think that would be a little bit too big. But I do think this could be like maybe the bumper. It's just so weird that you've kind of got like this light source that kind of curves around. And I'm sure all of that will come together once we, continue to experiment with this video. So one of the things I noticed recently, going back to video tampering, and that's what I want to show you today, and then we'll get to the lights here. Okay, this right here. So this is something I realized. So there's 3 videos, right? We have a 1:30 video where the light goes across, where they're going between the yards. We have the video with the car, which is this video here. And then, actually, no, it's not this video. This one's the light. And then we have the one where supposedly a person is jumping over the ditch, which is very short. Now, this one here is where the light is coming back, subject to is coming back. But instead of being where it's Nick Barris's video where it's zoomed in, we have the one where it's kind of zoomed out. So I was looking at that and notice there's no static light up here. Remember, I was telling you about the garage light that's across the street. Notice that's not on right now. But when we see the car video, there's that static light. Like I said, this light does not move. So then I was looking at this footage here where the car will turn on. And there was something that's different about this video. Let's see if you guys can see it. Oops. There it is. Okay, let me pause it right there. So this one here is when the lights subject 2 and subject 1 are moving. This one is when the car is going to turn on. And notice this is obviously the same camera angle, but do you guys notice the difference between the two? Kind of look here and here and tell me what you see. But there's a huge difference between these two here, which I thought was really interesting. I don't, and I'll explain it here in just a minute. Then it says, in my opinion, it's going to come down to circumstantial evidence. Maybe. It may come down to a lot more. Yeah, I think it is Weeping Waters. Yeah, with how the thickness of it. Yeah, and credit. I forget who mentioned that because, originally we thought, oh, it's like the mist, the dew, whatever. But then, yeah, that means that car's probably been sitting there for at least a couple minutes, which again, it all lines up with what the locals had said. Carol comes in saying maybe he had house shoes on. I doubt it was a stranger that went back to the houses, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, for it to be an abduction of, by somebody on the outside that's not connected to the family, it's certainly possible, but I forget all the doors they have. I know they have a locked door on the front door. They have the garage door. They have, on the side where the lights are at, they have I forget, it's like a cellar door or something like that where you can kind of go under the house. It's a crawl space type door. So obviously that wouldn't help you any. And then I'm assuming there's one in the backyard. Yeah, so front, garage, backyard. I believe, right? Correct me if there's another one, but yeah. What about just fog lights on? It's possible, Lake Girl. Anything's possible right now. For sure. Anyway, so has anybody noticed what is different about this? Because this is literally supposed to be the taken minutes apart, but yet one is much darker. So again, here is when the light was coming across, subject 2. We can kind of make out the Dodge Challenger. I always get those mixed up. We can kind of see the hood and everything. But then, this is when the car turns on. Look at the difference. Look how dark it is. And I noticed... Now, again, this is just a theory. I'm not sure what they'd be able to do, but it's almost like this light went out. Now, or there's this light here, but I'm pretty sure it's this light. So the charger would have been, so obviously, see where the camera is. So the charger, is it Charger or Challenger? I always get them mixed up. I'm just going to say the Dodge. It would have been parked like right here, like, facing where the truck is at. It'd be like right here in this little square. And there's this light, but it's so weird because look at it. It's like you don't see it anymore. But yet, just a few minutes earlier when the lights are coming across, there's so much more lighting. Look, even the truck itself, like you can see it pretty well. Pretty good. And then boop. Look how much darker it is. Like a light went out. Challenger. Is it a Challenger? And I'll probably say Charger because that's what I do. Be able to say Challenger. But yeah, do you notice how much darker that is? Now, is it possible that just maybe the person recording it, with their phone somehow caused it to be darker in a way? Which is weird because you would think they would have, if they recorded this part with their phone, did they record the entire thing with their phone? Why is this lighter where you can kind of make out part of the Challenger, yet, and the truck, and now it's just much darker, almost as if like that light, I'm not sure if that, I'm just speculating, almost like this light like went out. Now, do I think they went to the trouble of like smashing a light? I don't think so, but it's weird. It's really strange. My motion sensor light is on a timer. Yeah. And it could be maybe just maybe it's motion sensor light. Just I mean, imagine the timing though. Like when the car's coming by, that sensor goes out. It's a little weird. But yeah, again, like I'll look at all the three shots, like all the videos, and I'll have them all like pulled up on like different screens and just kind of examine them. And that was something that stuck out this morning. I'm like, this is so much darker, like as if the light had gone out. So weird. And again, it just kind of goes back to the, was a jammer used, but I don't know what would be the point of just knocking out one light. But yeah, really interesting. I know it's not huge, but like I said, it's when when you already kind of pointed out like the big things, the only stuff you really have left is kind of just the little things. But what I'm trying to look for is to see if there's like some kind of reflection. So we know, or we believe, I should say we believe that there's people walking to the car, right? Which there is kind of evidence of. There's a blinking light kind of that pops up. Yeah, right here. So this is that same video, but it's just blown up. But there's this little blinking light. I know it's probably hard to see. Well, we'll see it here just for a second. And again, this just goes to what the locals said, that they were, at this point, they were kind of moving around the car, doing something, and then would eventually leave. So I wondered if they were walking with flashlights. Or does this prove that it's like a cell phone and it's a very low light source? Basically what I'm trying to get to is I was trying to look to see if there was anything that would respond. So remember when I said I could see that when this car turns on its lights for the first time, you can actually see that. Which again, I know it's not huge, but again, that tells you where the car is. I mean, that tells you that car is sitting very close to this truck because it turns on its lights. It illuminates the back of this. I believe this one's a Dodge. Might have went back too much. Yeah, right here. So basically what I was trying to look for is, so we see the car kind of, whatever it does reacts with what's static in the picture. And so what I was trying to look for is if they had like high beam flashlights or, kind of strong flashlights, would something illuminate off one of these vehicles? Because obviously there's tons of vehicles. And if they had pointed something that's, a certain brightness, would it react off one of these vehicles? Of course, I haven't seen anything like that. It still bugs me to know what did they really use as far as light source, moving between the yards. Was it just a cell phone, or was it something like a headlamp but with a light, kind of a lower light source on it? Alan says, could have been a motion light going off. Yeah, and it certainly could have. It's just the timing of it, you know, like, it's so weird that that would go off, right? Just as this car had come down. Again, just one of these other many little weird coincidences that happens. Let me check my phone for a second. Oh, that's so weird. Oh, there it is. Thank you so much, Kimberly, Deb, for the PayPal. So here we are. This is what we're going to be focusing on tomorrow. And then I'm going to play a little bit of the interview from Dog today. Just a few highlights, just in case you missed it. But this is what I'm trying to figure out, is what is causing the sea? Is it the light? It has to do something with the... Sorry, I'm trying to get it back on there. Is that to be, just like if somebody said, if they turned on the fog lights but not the lights themselves, could that be what we're seeing? But again, I have still not fully figured out what is causing that sea. And it drives me nuts, because if we could figure that out, I really think there is an answer to what kind of vehicle this is. Again, the locals claimed that they thought it was a sedan. I did that measurement. Again, it's not going to be super accurate, but it appears this vehicle could be between 14 to 15 feet. And yeah, there's still so many experiments we could do with the car. And I know some people have sent in more stuff that I need to kind of work in to this video. Just reading chat here for a minute. And it says, is Dog following your interesting leads? I know some people have sent my work over to them, so I think they know what I've done. Again, I think if they can get their hands on the original stuff. So again, this is what's kind of exciting, is what we're looking at is not like what's really, I mean, it's there, but we've got the third generation. The original video will most likely, again, if you think about it, if we just zoom this out for a second, if they could see, let me just get to the zoomed out position. If they could see a figure jumping back here, imagine what the original footage shows with this car. And if I forgot to mention, I think I did, as far as enhancing what we have here, there isn't much more I can really do as far as like enhancing it, making like a car appear. Fortunately, that's not going to happen with this footage that we have, because unfortunately the data is not there. But with the original, I'm pretty sure at the very least they'll have kind of an outline of the car. But the question then goes to, if they already know that there was a car, why haven't they put that car out there? You know, I get if they would have waited like a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe even up to a month, because they don't want to scare that person into, I don't know, getting rid of that car. But, now we're on nearly 7 months later. Why not just put that car out? because I'm sure once the FBI got involved, if it hadn't already been attempted for them to destroy it, I'm sure they would have by now. But I'm sure they would be able to trace that car back to the original owner. Susie Q says, I saw a figure during a live and made a comment. You saw a figure. Jen says, I can't believe this case still hasn't been solved. I think if there's any chance of it being solved, it has to be now. With Dog coming in, whether you like him or not, the reward going up, you've got all these people focused on it, and I'm praying to God the FBI is not only just stepping in. Jennifer Copperdaver did make a great statement. They never put a reward out for Summer Wells. She's been missing much longer than Sebastian. There's no reward for him. Michael Vaughn's case, they didn't put a reward out for him. And then clearly the statement FBI makes, is more or less says, hints towards an abduction. Now the question is what's going on? Here's something to think about. Is the TBI sitting on stuff that should lead to solving this case? And if that's true, why are they sitting on it? I'm not a big person when it comes to corruption. Sometimes I feel like that's an easy cop-out for certain cases. But in this case, if it comes out that there's some kind of corruption, that would not surprise me. I'll just say that. That would not surprise me at all. Spirit Junkie, is there a static picture of the car we suspect tampered with all the cameras? Is there a static picture of the car? I believe there is, but not the one that we have. Again, the version we have is like a third generation video. So keep in mind, these videos that we're looking at. So actually, I wanted my next video tomorrow. I'm hoping if I have enough time. What I'm going to do. So see here, we've got this, basically, this is kind of like surveillance footage, but we can actually see the car, right? We can actually probably see in my car would probably be better. Let me pull this one. So we can kind of make out my car, right? But if I were to go and record this with my phone, right? And lose some generation, lose some frames per second, whatever. And it's now second or third generation. It will probably start to turn out to look like something like this, where you would only see, my lights. You wouldn't be able to make out the silhouette of my vehicle. So obviously you can kind of tell my vehicle's an SUV. I apologize for those that are on the phone. It's probably a little bit harder to see, but you can even make me out in the car a little bit, the person driving. So this is what I'm assuming. This is why I kind of showed this as well. This is probably something of what they have. Is they probably have the silhouette of the vehicle in the original footage. Just unfortunately, I'm sure it's probably a dark car, so they're still not going to be able to make out specific details, logos, or whatever that you would be able to. But yeah, let me play what the dog had real quick.
Expand on this camera angle just a little bit. Katie Proudfoot actually worked for a company that managed installation of cameras. And
Right.
I always found it very interesting. Just imagine, you work for ADT or something along those lines. I'm not saying she worked
Right.
for ADT. I
Yeah,
won't name
there's
the
no way
company
they
she
would be able
worked
to make
for.
that.
And you don't have any cameras, or they're not working. They're
Sorry to interrupt what she's saying. I'll go back. But yeah, that's something that was mentioned when we first started. Like when I first introduced this and everything. Some people had mentioned, could it be, lightning bugs or whatever. And there's just no way they'd put off that kind of power. And I showed videos and examples of what bugs look like when they're kind of flying around. Obviously, subject to that is a person walking.
not covering. You have an autistic child. Doug, let me run this past you. So
Okay.
Katie Proudfoot was in the military, and I want to
Thanks so
expand
much,
on
Charles.
this camera angle just a little bit. Katie Proudfoot actually worked for a company that managed installation of cameras. And
Right.
I always found it very interesting. Just imagine, you work for ADT or something along those lines. I'm not saying she
Right.
worked for ADT. I won't name the company she worked for. And you don't have any cameras, or they're not working. They're not covering. You have an autistic child. He's
Right.
15 years old. I mean, what do
Yeah,
you
that
make
is
of
a little
that?
weird.
The lack of coverage with somebody that was their job.
That is, another thing. There's an old saying: all roads lead to Rome. And I hope it's not the Brinks company you don't want to mention, but when do Brinks let you ride around with your husband in the vehicle? When does that? She works there, doesn't she now? When do they let you have your husband in the vehicle without cameras and cameras going everywhere?
Here, let me back this up.
Because that.
Oh, here it is. This is the part where I wanted to play. I
do
forgot I
that.
had it with this.
All of these things. I mean, again, I hope to God they didn't do this. They weren't instrumental in him leaving. But, autistic like that, he wasn't really bad, but, 14, 15 years old.
We talked about that.
I don't know. I'd have to, we'd have to ask the real father if he thought that he could make it without any kind of supervision or anybody being around or, stuff like that. I just, I don't know about that, but it's, man, there's a lot of questions that are up in the air about this. In the very beginning, it was like, the real father did it, and all those videos of him in the jail were some kind of transferred over. You can't do that to a jail. You know that. Now Nick and I completely changed our mind after working on it 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's really troubling because I know early on, I always want to take the position of, first of all possibility. I really believe in this situation.
Right.
We don't have any of that. So you're telling me
Nothing.
not one Ring camera. This is a suburban
Okay, yeah, this
area. Not any place around. Not one camera has seen him. I have trouble with that.
We found some Ring camera stuff coming next.
So this
stay
is
tuned.
interesting.
Oh yeah. So we found some Ring camera stuff. Okay, certain times when they were supposed to be there, they're not. Certain places they're supposed to be. Alibis, like you said. Everybody will lie for everybody, but the camera does not lie.
So I'm curious. Let me know what you think in chat. I'm assuming he's talking about Chris Proudfoot because Kitty's supposed to be home. So I'm assuming he's talking about Chris Proudfoot, and there's Ring camera footage that maybe shows that he wasn't where he's at. I don't know. But I thought that was interesting. I mean, he's claiming that they've got Ring camera footage, and again, if that's true, that's going to be very damning because again, that's where this channel focuses on is the evidence, and it'd be interesting. I mean, I don't see why he would say something like that and not back it up, but again, I hope he doesn't say that and he doesn't have the footage because then that won't look good.
Photos, they used to say 1,000 words, and now they can change them. But the cameras, if they change them, the footage and the whatever they're called now, the little cards, they can find out if that's changed. And there are some Ring cameras and some other camera stuff that is we're just now getting into. So before before we get it and drop it, then somebody better, because there's no way a plea bargain can be made or something can happen. You know that after the little boy is found or we find out what happened. Right then, it's over.
That the Proudfoots.
That's interesting. Do you think he's bluffing and he's trying to scare them? I'm just curious. Let me know what you think in chat. Again, I'm gonna be honest. I was not super impressed with his interview overall. There were some things that he talked about that I thought wasn't necessary. Again, I grew up watching dogs, so I'm a little biased because I enjoyed his show back in the day, and then I do think people don't fully understand like what he's really doing in this case. He's not the one really going out and doing stuff. He's kind of the one that's going to be doing interviews. He's kind of like the face of it, but he's got a team, that's really pounding the pavement and doing the hard work, and doing the investigating. But it's curious though. I'd be, I don't think it's a bluff. I mean, that's a pretty strong statement to say, we've got camera footage, but, oof. I'm going to play that part one more time, but that would be wild.
I have trouble with that.
We found some ring camera stuff coming next. Stay tuned. Oh, yeah. So, we found
Sounds
some
pretty
ring camera
confident.
stuff. Okay?
I mean,
certain times when they were supposed to be there, they're not.
There's some
certain
things that
places they're supposed to be. Alibis, like you said, everybody will lie for everybody, but the camera does not lie. Photos, they used to say 1,000 words, and now they can change them. But the cameras, if they change them, the footage and the whatever they're called now, the little cards, they can find out if that's changed. And there are some ring cameras and some other camera stuff that we're just now getting into. So before we get
that's what it sounds like.
Then somebody better, because there's no way a plea bargain can be made or something can happen. You know that after the little boy is found or we find out what happened. Right then, it's over.
That the Proudfoots, both of them, left their home. So they have an autistic child who supposedly walked away. What do you make of that? And have you seen that happen in any?
Oh, someone said all the cars I'm showing is just different cars. Not again. I think it's a sedan. I was just kind of showing. This was actually before. I think the locals had reached out to me, or maybe it was kind of just as that was happening. So I was looking at everything because
Other case.
They believe it's a sedan, but it's a possibility it could be an SUV or a smaller SUV.
Never. It's all bull crap. How he got out the back, through the gate, the shoes. He did not want to be barefooted. So was he given enough pills, the new pill?
Yeah, I don't know about the pill thing. Yeah, there's, like I said, there's a few things that I'm like, like I said, I don't want to really bring it up, but yeah, there was a few things in the interview I thought was a little distasteful, and kind of got a little weird at the end. But again, that was interesting. Like I said, I mean, if he has that stuff, awesome. The main thing is if it helps lead to Sebastian, how you get there, as long as it's the right paths, then yeah.
Wants lie detectors, which he's passed. Was it Greta? It was Nancy Grace gave him one from one of the top guys in the world, and he passed it, right? So why?
Again, I don't know about all that. In my opinion, until Sebastian's found or whatever, until we found out, to me, I think everybody is a person of interest until he's found. That's where I sit. think the shoes are clues. Yeah. And I think he's trying to mention that, like, barefoot, again, not only barefoot, just walking around, and, that'd be really tough on your feet. But on top of that, the dog scent, they should have been able to pick up, a very strong scent if he's barefoot, because that's what the scent dogs go for, is your feet. Your feet have the most odors, and that's where they're concentrated. So I think he was trying to say, like, if he was walking around barefoot, they should have had, a specific trail of where he went. I know they went to the retention pond. I do have some theories on maybe they tried to maybe walk some clothing up to that retention pond or something. It's very interesting. There's one more thing I wanted to talk about. Where is it here? How about edit it out? Oh, this car here. Just the other thing about this car is, again, why did this car... oops, that's probably past where I wanted to talk about. Where is it?
To the street and park in front of the camera for a few minutes. There has to be a reason why this vehicle performed this action.
Yeah, this is the biggest question in my mind. It's one thing to go up the street.
If this was the Uber driver, why didn't they drive back up the street?
And that's the other thing is, remember, they try to claim that this was the Uber driver, but this car, according from what I understand from the locals, that car, after it's done, and this is coming from, I understand, from the homeowners, I believe. I could be wrong. Actually, I better be careful on how I say that. So maybe scratch that. But the word is they believe, they're pretty sure, when after that car turned onto Stafford, it then turned down Kellen and left. It didn't go back up. So, because the other thing I was trying to look at is, what is the innocent explanation, right? Let's just say this wasn't what what I'm trying to imply this is, with him being abducted. What would be the innocent explanation for lights, at the very least, two people, sometime around 3 to 3:30? What would be the innocent explanation of two lights kind of crossing paths? Other than maybe walking their dog, but would you walk your dog down into the ditch? I mean, I guess if the dog's just following you, but again, what would be,
we need to look at this from all sides. If this was not an abduction, what would be the innocent explanation for these lights at 3 a.m. in the morning? Or is there an innocent explanation for at least two people to be wandering around with lights in the cold dark on an early Monday morning?
Yeah, again, not just one, but two people. I could maybe kind of get behind one subject walking around with a flashlight, likely taking their dog to go to the bathroom, in the back of their yard, and maybe the dog's dragging them across. But, we know that there's at least two sources. At 3 to 3 a.m. on a Monday morning, where people are likely going to work or have to have children, get ready for school. Very strange. And then on top of that, you have a car that shows up minutes later. Like, the timing of that, like, what would be an explanation that, kind of debunks everything that's going on in this? Yeah, I think it was like 5:36 a.m.
If this was an inside job and they were aware of the cameras, why would they
Let me turn this down here. Momo Shark, good to see you. Does dog have access to better resources than law enforcement? Oh, it's kind of a tough question. It's more that they can do things that the law enforcement can't, right? That's the bigger thing. He does have resources. Obviously, he's got it. He's putting up a $50,000 reward or 25 or whatever, but he's putting up a decent amount of the reward. And I'm sure they do have resources. Now, do they have more than law enforcement? I don't know. I guess that would just kind of depend on which county or law enforcement, but I think it's really more about he could do what law enforcement can't. And he's talked about that many times, is that, he can go and talk to people. He could take in tips anonymously. Whereas, there are people that are just sketchy of law enforcement in general. So that's kind of the pitch is, hey, you can come talk to us. And, there's not going to be any issues. I mean, unless you're directly involved, but, maybe, or maybe you've heard about the crime or know somebody that was involved. You can go talk to them. Obviously, they say they're working independent of law enforcement, but of course, when they come across certain details, especially that would lead to Sebastian, and of course, I'm sure they would collaborate with law enforcement. Ashcast, that's creepy to have a car right there shining like right there in your area. That's spooky. What a coincidence that I don't believe in. Right. Nadia says, what if the car wasn't for Sebastian? Again, that's the angle I was trying to look at, is what's the angle of the suspicious car that we could look at as what's the innocent explanation for the car turning down this road and sitting there. And keep in mind, this car is not acting in a normal behavior. It's too bad we don't have more footage. But the little footage we have, we know this car is technically, before it turns up, it's sitting there. Like right now, it's sitting there without its lights on. Like what, if you're an Uber driver, why would you turn off your lights? And that's so weird. To me, that's suspicious behavior. That's not normal. I get it. Maybe like the car died or something, and I'd start it back up. But, and then, like I said, how we learned that this is likely exhaust means that this car was probably sitting there for a few minutes. Everything that the locals have said. It all just kind of, all these little pieces add up. Yeah, there was an Uber waiting, but the neighbor, the local said that so that Uber is caught on camera. It is seen going up Killen, and from what I understand, picks up the guy at like 5:36 a.m. And and they know it's the Uber driver because keep in mind at that time the sun is not up, but it's the light is starting to kind of come in. So, the footage, obviously would be much brighter because, the sun is slowly starting to come up. Even though it's February, obviously the sun isn't going to be coming out till I don't know when it is, 7:30, 8 a.m. But they just know that there's a huge difference between that Uber driver. It's clear, which cars are which. Allison Cosgrove, the investigative law enforcement in this case is sad compared to Madeline Soto. I know. again, I hate to say this because this is not something that I'm like big into, because I always feel like it's kind of an easy cop out in certain true crime cases. But if in this case, when it's all finished, which I hope to God, pray that they do find Sebastian and the people responsible, it would not surprise me if there was some kind of corruption on law enforcement side and others. Would not surprise me. And that just goes to some of the stuff that I've heard that unfortunately I can't share. And maybe at one point I'll be able to share if certain things come out. That hopefully maybe Dog and the FBI's team discover. The only thing with the FBI is I doubt they would ever release anything until, they're not very good. FBI is not very good with sharing things. Yeah. Usually, I don't know if does anybody drive for Uber or Lyft? Is that like required to have that Uber Lyft thing up on like the I want to say windshield, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, but yeah, basically pressed up against the windshield. Is that something that they have to do? I could probably just look that up. Here to have the illuminated sign. Okay, so they call it the Uber beacon. So it's not required, but so they'll give them like stickers. So it's not required, but they'll give them either a beacon, they can have a beacon, sticker, license plate number. So that's interesting. Yeah, because they are definitely quite noticeable. Those up in the windshield in the front there. Again, tomorrow we're going to do the vehicles. We're just going to solely focus on vehicles. After we're done, I will. So if you're interested in that, you've got a car that you would like me to do. Again, I may not be able to get everybody's, but as soon as the show ends, in the comments, I'll put a pinned comment, so it's right at the top, and I'll say, what car would you like me to overlay in? And I will then tonight and tomorrow morning, I will start collecting those cars, and then basically just kind of start overlaying them. And we'll do it. We'll overlay them live, is what we'll do. And yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun to see different cars. And if anybody has like surveillance footage of cars, kind of like this. Let me just show you guys. Oops, sorry. Where is it? Right here. If anybody has done an experiment, would like to do an experiment with their car lights at night, especially if you have like security cam footage and you just kick on your car and turn on the lights, and you would like to send that to me, that would be awesome, because basically what I need to do is I need to take basically like footage like this. I need to put it on the full screen, right? To reenact this the best I can is then I would take this video, right? And then I would record it with my phone, right? So now we kind of lose a generation, and we'll probably lose a bit of the vehicle and stuff. And then upload it, and then we look at the difference, right? So just to kind of give you an example of how it's most likely, see how you can see the outline of my car. You know, you can kind of make out that it's an SUV, you know. But after I take my phone and record it and lose some generation and lose some pixels, that really now what we'll have is just kind of the bright lights, and it would be interesting to see the before and after, just to kind of show you guys what likely the law enforcement has and has been sitting on, and why in the hell they've been sitting on it for nearly 7 months. I don't know. I don't know. Island High. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much for the $10 super sticker. It means the world to me. I really appreciate the support. This is my job. For those that are new to the channel, I not only cover true crime, but for anybody that's kind of new, I do go out and search for the missing. This is a kid, Aidan Clune, we've been searching for 2 years. 2 years, right? Nothing has ever been found in his case. We went out this year. We starting to grid search, right? Same thing with Sebastian's case. We went back to the beginning, and I looked at the cell phone reports. I looked at where his last footprints were at. And anyway, you can see the video if you'd like to check out that playlist. I'm trying to kind of narrow it down so it's just the highlights. But anyway, long story short, we were finally able to find the first physical evidence in his case, and that was his shoes. Those have since been turned over to law enforcement. I know it looks like 2 left shoes, but I promise you it's just the lighting and the way we took the pictures. And it's because you're looking at the outside of the right shoe and the inside of the left shoe and the outside of the left shoe, so it's kind of looks weird, but I promise you, and it looks like they're 2 different shoes, but I promise you they are the same shoes. He just had different laces on the other one. But anyway, so yeah, we found his shoes, and we have done so much in that case, and we believe we're just one day away from giving his mother the closure that she deserves. So any support that you guys give in does go to us working on other cases. Unfortunately, I can't go out and search for Sebastian because I am a lot further away. But right now, I don't know if I would be out searching. I mean, I would. If somebody asked me to, I would. But I say this, and I'll get to chat here. Imagine if they find out this is an abduction. Right, I know I've said this a couple times in my last lives. Imagine they find out this is an abduction, and they knew all along, and they did all of this. All of this. All of this man-hours, money, resources, drones, boots on the ground, searching ponds. There's still searches going on today, yesterday, the day before. Nothing. But imagine all that searching, and then to find out that it was abduction. I feel terrible if that would be the case. And for all those people that went out and searched. Be heartbreaking. Green at work on this, Chris. Been waiting to catch a live. Thank you so much, Allison Cosgrove. I know you've been with me, following the channel for a long time. I appreciate you. Good to see you. Black Witter, same to you. Thank you so much for the $5 Euro sticker. You are amazing. And I'm missing somebody. Connie Brighton, you do wonderful work. Thank you so much. Again, I know I can't keep bringing new stuff to you guys when it comes to this video because there's only so much, you can really, put together or discover, with just basically 2 minutes worth of footage. But I do feel like we're getting closer to kind of understanding what's going on in this footage to the best that I can. Weaving Waters, you're not supposed to turn lights off if you're Uber or DoorDash. I have no idea about that, Weaving Waters. So I can't comment on that. That's kind of interesting. Shall we have those two, the ruckus footage? Okay, do you want to know why, Cheryl, this is crooked? I hope you're still, because this is probably an older comment. Do you want to know why this is crooked? And I've explained this. I would encourage you to watch some of my lives or my video. Do you want to know why this is crooked? Let me show you why. You see that camera right there? That is pointing down at a crooked angle. So when you go to look at something, you are now looking at it at a crooked angle. So to straighten it out, that's because this camera is at a crooked angle. So you have to reorient that. The ruckus video, I don't like to debunk stuff. I know a lot of people think that there's a bunch of stuff going on, but I did a debunk video on that. If you'd like to check it out, you're more than welcome. I'm not here to change people's opinions. If you believe that's what's going on, I respect that. But to be able to have people that big making shadows, you would have to be a giant. Look at the door right here. There's the door right there. You would need to be like 8 foot tall to be creating those shadows. So yeah, because the camera is sitting at an angle. Anyway, I might have to do some kind of reenactment to kind of show what the hell that I'm talking about. I'm sure some people understand what I'm talking about, but yeah, you have to tilt it, because if you don't tilt it, look at the truck. This is the easiest way to just tell. Look at the truck right now. Do you think this car right here, so this is the footage right side up, right? This is the footage right side up. So this is a perfect example. Do you think the car is sitting on 2 tires and sitting up? Or there's a huge giant hill that goes up Stafford Court? No, it's just a regular straight road. So, and the reason that is because the camera is at an angle. So that's why you need to. So here's even me not even fully rotating the camera. But to be able to... This one doesn't have where I rotate it, unfortunately. But yeah, you have to rotate it to get it right. Because the camera itself is at an angle. Sorry. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but yeah. Yeah, there you go, Alan. Yeah. Take a phone, turn it, take a picture. It'd be crooked. Right. There you go. Thank you, Alan. Amazing supporter. I appreciate Alan. Yeah. So, I know. And I hate to, like, because I know a lot of people believe in the ruckus video. I know. And I hate to, like, go out and debunk stuff like that, but you know, again, I try to stick with the facts, and I was curious about it. I'm like, God, maybe there is people, but then when you kind of just break it down into basic measurements and math, it just doesn't line up. They'd have to be giants to be messing around. And really, at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's just a case of pareidolia. Yeah, that's not Proudfoot's garage. This garage, so this home is next to the Proudfoot's home. Proudfoot's home is right next to it. This is what's going on. Laugh out loud. That wax funny camo. You're funny, Chris. Love your sensei. Thank you so much, Busy Bee. Anyway, if you can, please hit that like button. I forgot to say that earlier. I appreciate your guys' time and effort. I know I kind of go over some of the same stuff, but again, this is the evidence, and one day we're gonna look at this evidence. If this gets solved, we're gonna be looking at this. And I'm going to promise you, we're going to see so much more. Because, again, we're only looking at it from a third generation. So, when we get the full original footage, we are going to see so much more. And who knows, who knows what they missed when they were looking at it originally, when they just had sent it over to I can't remember if they sent it over to a family member or a friend. The original homeowners that had the footage. For anybody who doesn't know the story, they knew he went missing. They quickly had looked at the footage, but they didn't see anything. They probably just kind of scanned through it and then, maybe skip past 3 to 3:30. That just goes to show that this probably happened within like a 15-minute time frame, maybe. Something like that. 15, 20-minute, whatever. And so they didn't see anything. So they sent, I don't know how much footage, I don't know if it's 24 hours, 10 hours, whatever, or a few clips. And they sent them over to a family member or a friend. I just can't remember which one. And then they are the ones that had seen something. And then from there, that's when they had Nick Barris come over. He did the phone thing. And then eventually that person then released the other 2 clips with the car and the person returning back. So, yeah. But in the original, they could see a lot more. So eventually, we will probably get more information and possibly see figures as they're moving. Would be able to make out Sebastian. I doubt it. It's fairly far away and too dark. But who knows, what else they could see in the original unadulterated footage. Thank you so much, Luna. Florence White, great work, Chris. Thank you so much. So tomorrow we're just going to focus on the cars. I know a lot of people, want to, get involved in that. So that'll go on tomorrow, 7:30. So the same time I usually start. And again, as soon as this live ends, in the comments, I'll put a pinned comment. What car do you want me to overlay? And then we'll just kind of have a live where we just kind of overlay cars. And everybody kind of, as much as I can participate. The C could be the stream lights. The stream lights on only, wrapping around the actual headlight that's off. Yes. Would also explain why the straight line on the ground is not there. Yes. Yes. I love it, name. I love the YouTube handle, a name. But yeah, that could be it. It'd be amazing. I know we could probably figure that C out. I know it. Are we going to make the car appear? No. But could we at least narrow down and exclude a bunch of cars? For sure. Oh, no worries, Missy P. I gotcha. Yeah, let me know if you can, Ellen, when I'm done, if you can put it in the pinned comment. So, Oh, Carol, did you donate? Oh, you did. Yeah, thank you so much. So let me just quickly thank everybody one last time for the support. I'll make sure I didn't miss anybody. Sensei, Sandra, Leslie, Carol, Black Witter, Allison, Island, Connie, and Florence. Thank you guys so much for the donations. And then, of course, Kimberly for the PayPal. That is awesome. Oh, Sally, thank you so much. Again, okay, Lexi, I will, if it's in the email, I'll hopefully try to get to him, so. Oh, that's right, my twin. Yes, okay, I got you. Can we see the sea again? Yeah. So there's the sea. You know, we thought there was Loose Fig, L Fig. I don't know if he's been in here. You know, he sent me this one car that, man, it kind of looked like it could fit, but I don't think it could just be the blinker because it's just, the blinker would be way too big, you know. So, but there's clearly something there that's blocking, you know, this. You know, it is the bumper and that we're getting kind of like part of the headlight. It's like, man, it's like I really feel like part of this has got to be the headlight somewhere in here. But what would cause the sea? It's truly a puzzle that I think can be solved. I really do. Thank you so much, Low 12. You are amazing. I appreciate your support. Mitzi, good to see you. Great live, Chris. I appreciate it. But yeah, we'll be back here tomorrow, same time. As soon as the live ends, I'll go in the comments. We'll do a pin live. With that, mods, you're amazing. Thank you so much for your hard work. But yep, we'll be back tomorrow, same time. Maybe just do an hour show unless we get a lot of vehicles. But we usually try to keep it to about an hour and a half. So with that, I am going to go ahead and do a pet outro. I know some more people have sent in some pets, so I will try to work those in, maybe get those in by Monday, hopefully. So with that, much love to you guys. Again, it's Team Sebastian. I don't care where this leads. Does it go to Seth? Does it go to Katie? Does it go to Chris? Does it go to all of them? I don't care. I just want to help find Sebastian and do whatever I can with the expertise that I have. And again, we're going to do it together as a community because we have an amazing, wonderful, welcoming community. So